Hi, my name is Mel, and we're going to be talking about Kent Hovind and creationism yet again. And this is so unbelievably frustrating. So, this is my perspective and my opinion. I am not a scientist. I've been studying cybersecurity. I have a diploma in cybersecurity. I've done IT courses. I'm on disability because I'm sick as a dog and halfway, to the grave. But anyway, I won't go there. So, in my perspective, like in my very humble opinion, I feel like that Kent Hovind appears to be, um, a grifter. At least he appears to be, and it looks like, at least, it seems like he might be lying through his teeth. I don't know what he actually believes because, who knows? I can't read the guy's mind, but he tells so many untruths about science and biological evolution, and he has been corrected. So he's a young Earth creationist. He believes the Earth is 6,000 years old. He believes that he doesn't believe evolution is a thing. He thinks that the geological formation is due to the flood. That he believes that life brings forth after its own kind because that's what the Bible says. Like he's a very big literal interpretation of Genesis. Whatever any of that means, who the hell knows? Because at this point nobody does, not even him, I don't think. So he has what I can find on the internet and what appears to be the case. It looks like he has a very long history of some legal issues and some manipulation of factual data to sustain his platform. So I mean, he has been corrected. He's a grifter, in my opinion, right? So, like straw man arguments, he frequently mischaracterizes scientific concepts such as falsely claiming that evolution teaches humans came from rocks, which no, it doesn't, or whales evolved from pine trees, and it doesn't do that either. Abiogenesis is talking about how chemical elements, as in hydrogen, helium, all that sort of stuff, bonded and formed molecules and slowly changed and formed more molecules to eventually form a very basic protocell. Not the cells we've got today, but very basic. There's a lot of evidence for abiogenesis. Now, is it as well supported as evolution? Not yet. But there's a heap of evidence. Not saying humans came from rocks, because it's absurd, or whales evolved from pine trees. But all life, any life, and all life on Earth is related biologically. We're related chemically. We're related in physics, right? The guy just doesn't. He has been corrected on this, and I don't think he particularly cares, in my opinion. Despite being corrected, as I said, repeatedly by experts in fields like biology, geology, he uses the same very well debunked talking points in his presentations. He calls himself Dr. Kent Hovind, which I'm not going to give him that courtesy, sorry. His title comes from the Patriot Bible University, a notoriously unaccredited diploma mill operating out of a residential house. That appears to be what the case is, right? Um, legal and financial controversies. So there appears to be a tax evasion conviction in 2006. Looks like, from what I can see, that Hovind was convicted of, what does it say, 58 federal court cases as well, failing to pay 840,000 in employee withholding taxes and structuring cathedrals to evade financial reporting requirements. Wow. Apparently spent about 8 years or more in federal prison. He's given sovereign citizen arguments, from my opinion. During his legal battles, he uses widely discredited legal arguments, claiming that he and his ministry belong to God and were therefore exempt from United States federal taxation. Okay, financial gain critics point out that his ministry model relies on soliciting donations centrally and selling materials based on unscientific uh, nonsense and conspiratorial claims to gain and generate revenue. So he claims as well that evolution is a religion, and like obviously it is not. Um, and it is confusing a structured scientific model with a belief system based on faith. Religion relies on faith, spiritual revelation, on religious scripture, certain a degree of dogma. Evolution is a branch of science, biological science to be exact, that is based entirely on observable, testable, and falsifiable evidence. Right? And so it is no way a religion. He just doesn't like it because it goes against his favourite story in his holy book, Unlike religious doctrines, scientific models do change when new data emerges. Right, so religious texts don't change, and that's not a good thing because they're seriously outdated. The modern evolutionary synthesis constantly updates as we discover new fossils and genetic sequences, like in terms of DNA. Evolution does not have deities, places of worship, moral commandments, spiritual rituals. It doesn't do anything. It just explains the diversity of life on Earth. That's it. And he doesn't like it because, as I said, the Earth isn't 6 to 10,000 years old. Noah's Ark is just a story. It didn't happen. There was never a global flood. It's all like stories told by people and cultures who didn't understand. I mean, like, it's not, I don't know if it was ever meant to be taken literally. It never happened. Okay, Genesis, the two different creation stories never occurred. All right, the Bible is not a science book, and it's not a history book. It's not even a book on morality. It's a collection of all different religious texts written for different, usually political or cultural reasons. They were trying to get like certain things that they wanted. There's nothing more better than saying, I speak for God, to try and sort of like control others or get what you want, and like I don't think there's any evidence that any of these people were writing anything from any kind of God. It's a human made book. I mean, I think that's beyond doubt at this point. So he also claims that animals bring forth after their kind, which means absolutely nothing. Kind is not, what is that? You can't even get the creationists to agree on what a kind actually is. A kind is a religious term. It is not a biological or scientific classification. It has absolutely no definition in biology, and it makes the claim impossible to test because what are they even talking about? Speciation is observed. Evolution does not predict that an animal will suddenly give birth to a totally different animal. It does not ever say that a dog will give birth to a cat. Instead, it predicts gradual changes over generations and speciation. Right? Small genetic changes accumulate in isolated populations over a long time, like millions of years, thousands of years, millions of years. Eventually, the two groups become so different they can no longer interbreed, which is sort of like the classification of a new species. Right? We observe this happening, so ring species, we observe this happening in real time with ring species like certain salamanders or gulls, where neighbouring populations can interbreed, but the two ends of the geographic loop cannot. So there's direct evidence in real time in the environment of evolution, and he has been told all this and he doesn't care. So you can make of that what you like. I just think he's trying to, you know, to try and deny biological evolution, you're taking away the one way we've got about knowing who we are, how we got here. Yeah, we are apes, we are primates, we are related to every life on Earth. He doesn't like that. not not our problem, but stop telling lies, in my opinion, stop doing it. So he claims that evolution claims that people came from rocks, and this is obviously bullshit. It's a very severe misrepresentation. It's a straw man argument of both evolution and abiogenesis. Evolution is about life. Biological evolution only explains how life changed after it already existed. It does not explain how the very first living cell started. So, abiogenesis is the study of life's origins. It investigates how complex organic molecules, like amino acids, naturally formed in chemical rich environments of early Earth. No claims that a literal rock turned into a human. Research focuses on how self replicating chemical chains formed in ancient oceans or hydrothermal vents, which is a matter of organic chemistry. It's not geology, right? He keeps also claiming that there's no evidence for evolution. And it is one of the most rigorously tested and thoroughly documented theories in all of science, supported by independent lines of evidence. So, genetics, DNA sequencing maps the exact degrees of relatedness between species. Our shared genetic code and shared genetic errors, pseudogenes, match the predictions made by evolutionary trees perfectly. Fossil lineages so the fossil records, so fossil lineages show clear chronological transitions over millions of years. Examples include the transition of land mammals, Tiktaalik, I think, and the transition of dinosaurs to birds, Archaeopteryx. I hope that's correct. I hope I've got that right. Said not a biologist, and there's a lot of biologists on YouTube who will do a much better job than I'm doing right now, because I'm looking this up on Wikipedia, and goodness only knows if this is right. So I do agree. Like, look at peer-reviewed science. A lot of it's behind paywalls, which I don't like because I can't afford to look at that. But vestigial structures, so anatomy and embryology, like the vestigial does not mean useless. It just means its original use has changed and maybe gotten less in some instances. So, like the human appendix, tailbone, or hip bones in whales, show remnants of features that were functional in ancestors but had changed or different and maybe sometimes no longer needed. We see evolution happen in real time. Examples include bacteria developing antibiotic resistance, insects evolving pesticide resistance, and changes of the big sizes of Galapagos finches during droughts. So we've seen this, and it's so many times. He calls himself Dr. Dono, and he's built a decades-long platform defending young Earth creationism. His cool claim is that Earth is exactly 6,000 years old. Humans and dinosaurs, he also claims that human and dinosaurs coexisted. Well, if you mean avian dinosaurs, i.e., birds, you would be correct. If you mean the non avian dinosaurs, like, whatever he's thinking, then you're not correct. The non avian dinosaurs died out 66 million years ago. The avian dinosaurs, which are birds, still exist, and the biblical flood accounts for all geological and fossil formations, which is absolute BS. He seems to rely on outdated data, misrepresentations, debunk science, and there's even fundamentalist young Earth creation organisations like Answers and Genesis seem to have publicly distanced themselves from him, warning their followers that his arguments are all bullshit, basically. He's done like creation seminars. He's done like the carbon-14 and radiometric dating fallacy. His claim seems to be that he cites instances where freshly killed seals or living snails were carbon dated to be thousands of years old to prove radiometric dating is a fraud. And what science says is this is a phenomenon known as a reservoir effect. Marine organisms absorb old carbon from deep ocean water, or limestone environments, which throws off the specific carbon-14 ratio. Scientists have known about this and corrected it since the 1950s. Furthermore, carbon dating is only used for organic material under 40,000 years old. They use totally different radiometric systems like potassium argon or uranium lead to date rocks and fossils that are older than that. Right? There's multiple different radiometric dating methods, and there's also other dating methods as well, so I won't even go there. He appears to have claimed that there was an ice canopy and a hyperbaric Earth. So it appears to claim that before Noah's flood, the Earth was encased in a massive canopy of ice or water vapor. He seems to argue that this canopy blocked UV radiation and doubled atmospheric pressure, allowing humans to live for 900 years and reptiles to grow into giant dinosaurs. What? I mean, that is going to be the silliest thing I've ever heard, quite honestly. So science says that's physically impossible. A canopy thick enough to hold the water required for a global flood would increase the atmospheric pressure to crushing levels, requiring creating a massive greenhouse effect that would probably literally boil the Earth's surface. Reptiles do not grow into dinosaurs simply from high oxygen or pressure. They are distinct animal classes of animals. Ah, brother. The Grand Canyon, he claims it was formed in weeks. He appears to assert that the Grand Canyon was carved out rapidly over a few weeks or days as the floodwaters of Noah's flood receded. Oh, brother. The Grand Canyon contains tightly winding, looping river bands known as incised meanders. I don't even know what that is, but okay, whatever. As I said, look this up for yourself, please. Do not ever trust anything any creationist ever says because they're full of shit. All right, and I think creationism is one of the worst freaking issues that we've got. I mean, this distrust of science, is just beyond belief. So, a massive rapid rush of water cuts a straight path. Deep looping canyons only form when slow-moving rivers cut through land that is gradually being uplifted over millions of years. Furthermore, rock layers contain fragile fossilized footprints, raindrops, and mudcracks, which would have been utterly obliterated if they were deposited rapidly in a global flood. I mean, duh. He apparently claims that the textbooks lie by showing distinct, orderly geological columns, whereas the true Earth is a jumble of random rocks. So science shows that the geological column is a structural map of rock layers based on where they sit in time, like chronologically. While erosion will sometimes wipe sections away locally, there are dozens of places worldwide, such as the Bonaparte Basin in Australia or the Williamson Basin in North America, where the entire geological column exists continuously in the exact order that was predicted by mainstream geology. So, he can take that and stick it in his pipe and smoke it. He primarily seems to operate as a public speaker, online personality, tour guide, rather than presenting any research. He communicates to the public through hyper-simplified and fast presentations using humour, well, I don't think it's all that funny, and rapid assertions to overwhelm listeners who have lack of scientific training. So he appears to have made a 250,000 evolution offer. He has offered apparently this amount of money to anyone who can prove evolution. However, the terms of the offer require proving that the entire universe created itself from nothing, which I guess is cosmology, which is not what the Big Bang says. It says there was a hot, dense state. It never says there was nothing. So, like, he does not only know biology, he hasn't got any idea of physics or special relativity or quantum mechanics or anything. He's got just no idea. That life came from non-life, which is abiogenesis, so, okay, and that animals change kinds, which he doesn't even specify what the fruit that even means. Because he bundles astronomy, chemistry, and biology into his own custom claim of evolution, the challenge is rigged, and it's scientifically illiterate, quite honestly. He's there's some sort of dinosaur adventure land, which is in apparently Alabama. I don't know. The go is apparently it used to be in Florida, now it's in Alabama. It's a 140-acre rural backwards property featuring 1,400 square foot creation museum, which what a freaking waste of money. And telling lies in public, in my opinion. A series of dirt path rustic caravans and small lakes. The park does not charge an entrance fee. Instead, it offers free admission, free lodging and meals. However, it relies entirely on visitor donations, merchandise sales, and labour loot, with guests staying longer than night and are expected to perform manual construction work on the grounds. Huh? Charming. The park operates without any strict safety protocols or regulatory oversight of commercial theme parks. Apparently, in March 2020, a 7-year-old boy tragically drowned in a pool on the property. There was no lifeguards on duty, and standard safety precautions were unmonitored. Visitors apparently are taken on some sort of ATV or walking tour by hovind or his volunteers. They perform basic home science experiments like spinning buckets of water to demonstrate gravity, paired with heavy biblical lessons. It's got nothing at all to do with science, really. He's basically teaching lies and bullshit, in my opinion. The entire objective of the compound is to convince young children and their families that mainstream biology and geology are conspiracies. Well, look, I think that's so harmful. Anyway, he's look. I mean, if you take anything this guy says at all, then I don't know what to say to you, because this guy, from all appearances and from my very humble opinion, appears like he's an absolute fraud, and he's making money by telling and selling children lies. Anyway, thank you.